All right, let's get into it. Today, we are tearing apart a book that basically looked at the traditional 9 to 5 and said, nope, we can do better. We're talking, of course, about Timothy Ferriss's The 4-Hour Workweek. Let's dig into the big ideas that completely shook up how a whole generation thinks about work, life, and everything in between.
So, let's just start with the question that the book pretty much throws right in your face. Are you actually living, or are you just working? I mean, it's a heavy question, right? But that one thought is the spark that really lights the fire for this whole philosophy of breaking out of the daily grind.
So, the very first move on this whole journey is to escape a trap that honestly most of us don't even know we're in. Ferriss gives it a name, the deferred life plan. And the whole goal? To ditch it, like right now.
And this right here really lays it all out. Over on the left, you've got the standard script we're all told to follow. Grind it out for 40+ years, save every penny, and then, if you're lucky, you get to start living. But then look at the right side, lifestyle design. This is all about weaving life into your work, not waiting for it. It's about building something you actually love today and realizing that your time and your freedom, well, that's the real currency.
Okay, so if you throw out that old plan, what's the alternative? Well, you get to join this whole new group of people that Ferriss calls the new rich. And trust me, they're wealthy in ways that go way beyond just money. See, the new rich, they aren't defined by having millions in the bank. Nope, they're wealthy in the stuff that actually matters. We're talking about having the freedom to do what they want, whenever they want, from wherever they want. It completely flips the whole definition of what it means to be rich. So what does that lifestyle actually look like? Well, instead of one giant retirement at the finish line, think of it more like a bunch of mini retirements you take all along the way. It's having the freedom to work from a coffee shop in Paris or a beach in Bali. And the secret sauce that makes it all happen? Automation and a mindset that's always looking for ways to build income that flows in even when you're not actively working. Okay, I know what you're thinking. That all sounds amazing, but how in the world do you actually do it? Well, let's get into the toolkit. These are the core principles that make the whole thing work. It all kicks off with this little gem, the Pareto principle. You've probably heard of it as the 80-20 rule. The whole idea, as you can see here, is that for almost anything, 80% of your results will come from just 20% of your efforts. So the secret isn't to work harder. Not at all. It's to figure out what that super valuable 20% is. You know, the key clients, the critical tasks, and just focus on those like a laser. And that brings us to what might be the most powerful and, let's be real, the hardest rule of all. You have to eliminate. Just stop measuring your value by the number of hours you sit in a chair. Instead, focus only on your output. If a task isn't getting you closer to those big results, the goal is to just get rid of it.
Now, beyond just cutting things out, the toolkit also includes outsourcing, finding talented people or virtual assistants to handle the stuff that eats up your time. And then there's this really cool exercise called fear setting. It's where you actually sit down and define your worst-case fears. You map out what would happen and how you'd get back on your feet. And what you find is they're usually not as terrifying as you thought. It's all about making fear manageable so it stops holding you back.
All right, so we've got the big idea and we've got the tools. Now it's time to make this stuff real. How do you go from just thinking about all this to actually putting it into practice? This quote right here, this is basically the whole mindset shift. It feels good to be busy, doesn't it? It feels like you're getting things done. But so often it's just a distraction. It's a way to avoid the really important, sometimes difficult work. Being productive, that's what actually gets you closer to freedom. So here it is, your launch plan. Super simple, super direct. First, you've got to audit your time. Look at your day and be absolutely ruthless about what you eliminate. Second, find that golden 20% of your work and just pour all your energy there. And third, you got to do that fear-setting exercise. Seriously, write it down. What's the absolute worst that could happen? You'll probably find out it's not the disaster you've built up in your head. So as we start to pull this all together, it's so important to get what the ultimate goal is here. This isn't about running away from work. It's about completely transforming your relationship with it so you can actually truly live. And this is the part people get wrong all the time. The 4-Hour Workweek isn't a get-out-of-jail-free card for laziness. It's a blueprint for being ridiculously effective. It's about being incredibly focused and efficient when you work, so that your work can serve your life instead of the other way around.
And in the end, this is what it's all for. A life that's built on a foundation of real inspiration, your why. A life that's fueled by motivation to get through the necessary stuff, and a life that's ultimately defined by action, the real steps you take day in and day out to build your own masterpiece.
So the book really leaves you with this one last pretty powerful question. You've got the tools, you've got the mindset. Your masterpiece is just sitting there, waiting. The only thing left to ask is, what are you going to build?